Good morning, everybody. It is about 8:40 in the morning here in Lisbon, and it's the first time in a bit I've been able to step outside without it being raining, and I am headed on an all-day tour to Sintra and Cascais. I think I'm saying that properly, but I'm not 100% sure. So I'm taking this small group tour. I'm not sure how the weather is going to be. It looks like it might rain a bit in both of the places while we go, but hopefully we get to see some cool sights. It's supposed to be really beautiful. Don't know much about it, but going to learn some history from the tour guide, I am sure. Right now, I am just headed to meet up with the group. Most of the people that are out and about, I think, are headed to work this morning. This is the earliest I've gotten up in quite a while. This is a bit difficult, but it should be a fun day. This is Avenida Liberdade, which is the main commercial street. A lot of the major hotels and the high-end shopping are here in Lisbon.
We call this area restauradores. It's a very important area in Lisbon. Restauradores means something like restoration square. And why? Because Portugal and Spain, we were only one kingdom between 1580 and 1640. So 1640 we restored our independence, so later they built this square, and you are going to see a monument because we are going to turn here. So a monument to celebrate that. And why? I mean, why Portugal and Spain got together? It was a consequence of several marriages between both royal families. That's why even today we say from Spain we should never expect good wind or a good marriage or a good wedding. So 1580 we got together, 1640 we restored again our independence. So this area where we are now, it's a very, or was a very expensive area. This monument on our left side, it's a kind of a mason monument, so you have this symbol that is also, I mean, you have something similar.
The obelisk, yeah.
And so it's something, I mean, that represents the light, the truth, the knowledge. So the inspiration was there. However, it was also a royal palace. So you are going to see many palaces in Sintra. So this is a royal palace. Near the center of Sintra you are going to see another royal palace. And finally we are going to stop in the Pena Palace, another royal palace. So why all of them in Sintra? Because Sintra was a nice summer area. Today maybe you cannot understand that. Most of the time we have sun instead of rain. That's why the aqueduct was built. The summer in Lisbon, it's not a good experience. So maybe usually 40 degrees, so something like 110 Fahrenheit degrees or above that. So it's not comfortable, was not comfortable. But Sintra it's influenced by a mountain, a small mountain, a 500 meters mountain. It's not too big, but it's enough to change to affect the weather around. So this was the first palace that the Portuguese royal families built, 1747. The green flag that you can see, well, many times, it's the Portuguese flag. So the red means blood and the green means hope. Sintra, Portugal, we were for a while an Arab area, or part of the Arab, not empire, but something like that. We become Christian again. And there was an old Arab palace that you are going to see here in the center of Sintra that was used as a Portuguese summer palace at least since the 14th century. Well, where are we now? Well, near the center of Sintra. Well, if you look at your right, you are going to see a very impressive building. So this building was the city hall. It looks like a palace and was built like a palace because there are many palaces here in Sintra. So this was only built in 1906, but was built this way to look like a palace. This big white building on your right was the first royal palace. This building was first an Arab palace during the Arab occupation, so we are talking about 8th to the 12th century. So after that it becomes a Portuguese palace, a Portuguese royal palace. This square is the main square here in Sintra, And on your left you have the village, so the interesting part of Sintra is right here on the left.
The Palacio de Pena is a Romanticist castle located at the top of a hill up a winding road in Sintra, Portugal. It's a national monument, UNESCO World Heritage Site, and one of the 7 wonders of Portugal. The President of the Portuguese Republic also uses it for state occasions. Our guide Manuel did not come into the castle with us, so I wanted to go ahead and give you a little bit on the history while I walk through it. It started out as a chapel dedicated to Our Lady of Pena, and the construction occurred after an apparition of the Virgin Mary. In 1838, King Ferdinand II acquired the former Hieronymite monastery of Our Lady of Pena. In the early 1700s, the monastery was damaged by lightning, but the Great Lisbon earthquake of 1755 reduced it to ruins. The chapel, however, escaped without a lot of damage, but it wasn't until 1838, when King Ferdinand II acquired the old monastery, that it was transformed into a palace that then served as the summer residence of the Portuguese royal family. The new palace was heavily influenced by the Stolzenfels and Rhinstein castles on the banks of the Rhine, as well as Babelsberg Palace in Potsdam. The building of the outside of the palace ended in the mid-1860s. After the death of Ferdinand, the palace was passed into the possession of his second wife, Eliza Hensler, Countess of Edla. She then sold the palace to King Louis, who wanted to retrieve it for the royal family, and thereafter, the palace was frequently used by the family. In 1889, it was purchased by the Portuguese state, and after the Revolution of 1910, it was classified as a national monument and transformed into a museum. The last Queen of Portugal, Queen Amelia, spent her last night at the palace before leaving the country in exile. It's now one of Portugal's most visited monuments. I can only imagine what this palace looks like on a clear day, and if you look up pictures online, you can see even more how whimsical and fantastical it is. Our guide told us a story that there's a rumor that Walt Disney visited this site and was influenced when he designed and built his own castles in the Walt Disney World parks. I can completely see why this would be a rumor there, and I really hope it's true.
Holy cow.
The wall over there, it looks like it's abandoned or something, or someone forgot that. It's a consequence of the earthquake, 1755 again. The monastery was affected, and when they restored the monastery, they keep this part of the wall as a message. The monastery is small, as you see, so many times you have to walk in a line, so not enough space for all of us. And, well, let's go.
This is the most famous pastry shop here in Sintra. Check it out. So these are 2 of the famous pastries in Sintra. And they're both incredibly delicious. One is cheese-based and one is almond-based, and we can't figure out which one's which, because neither of them really taste like cheese. Tapas and wine. They always keep their doors open no matter what the weather. This is cute. I'm just gonna get a soup. So I have 20 minutes to finish this, and I'm not even sure how to start eating it.
Well, this side of the village is not too different, but well, old houses. Some are abandoned, some are hotels. So we are going to explore only coastal areas. The areas that we are going to explore now in the next 1 or 2 hours are rural areas.
So we just finished up in Sintra, and now we're headed to Cascais, and we stopped in this little town here, the still part of Sintra, and the waves are crazy, but it is winter time, has been raining the entire time we've been here, but it's finally clearing up. Hopefully it stays blue sky.
Look at the landscape. So there are no trees here. So the reason it's a very windy area, so it's hard for big trees to grow here.
So now we're at Cape Roca, which is the most western point in continental Europe. But the landscape here is just gorgeous. I'm so happy that the sun came out.
Another monastery. This was built by a guy that was he was not an Irish guy, but with an Irish origin. So this is a kind of a common style here in Cascais. So now it's a museum, but was his summer house. So you have a small fishing port here in Cascais. So this area, it's a small fishing port, and you can see, I mean, how big the waves were and how big waves are here. So this is a bay area, so waves are smaller here, so that's why this was the Queen's Beach. So it was a much better area than all the places that you already saw. In Cascais, well, what can you do? There is a downtown area around this beach, so this is the center of Cascais. This building here on the left, it's the City Hall. There is a small museum here.
So Cascais is the last stop on our tour, and luckily the sun is still out, the weather has gotten a little bit warmer, and it's a beautiful, rich town right on the coast. It's a more modern town than anything else we've been to, because the earthquake back in I think it was 55, pretty much wiped out the town. So most of the stuff here is a lot more modern than we've seen in the other places that we've been. But it has a lot of money in the town, and a lot of wealthy people here have lived here, and a lot of royalty have lived here, have built houses here. So it's very beautiful, and of course it's right on the coast, so there is a beach here. Alright, so giving Santini's ice cream a try. I got raspberry and chocolate. It's delicious. I pretty much can't get ice cream without having some chocolate. And they recommended the raspberry to me. I'm not a very good judge of what the best ice cream ever is, but this is quite delicious. So it started out to be a pretty rainy, crappy day, but it is turning into a fantastic part of my trip. And some of the most things I've seen. So we've only got about another hour before we head back to Lisbon, and then I'm just going to take it easy. Maybe do some grocery shopping, which I haven't done since I've been here. You know, maybe go out on the town tonight and have a nice meal. I did opt against traveling all the way from DC just to go to Paul. I can certainly see why this place is so popular. It was chosen by the royal family to settle here. Check out the views. Woo! Holy crap! That scared me. You know that no country can escape Comic Sans and this pond. So another story that our guide told us was that the sidewalks in Lisbon were built in this sort of style. Obviously I'm not in Lisbon right now, but they were built in the same style because I think it was the Prime Minister or a king, I can't remember, was gifted a rhinoceros And so they built the sidewalks to withstand the rhinoceros. And it apparently takes quite a long time to lay all of this down, which makes sense. It's all put down by hand in kind of a puzzle sort of way. And it's beautiful, but it is really slippery and a bit difficult to walk on, especially when the streets are really steep. So it is just before 5 p.m. and our tour has returned to Lisbon. It was an excellent day. It started off kind of rough with the rain and the wind, but overall it was a fantastic tour. Manuel was our guide and he did a wonderful job giving us a lot of the history, and now I feel like I actually know something about Portugal, which is great. So I can tell you that if you are in Lisbon, you should definitely do an excursion tour out to Sintra and Cascais. It is worth the money and time to go out there. And now I'm gonna head back to my Airbnb and take a nap.
Bye-bye.